Resentment and depression. Bitterness and resentment festers, making angry people depressed. If you have a tendency towards mood disorder, it will definitely sink the boat. If you're in recovery from a mood disorder and carrying around resentments, you're not feeling good, and more likely you're going to get re-depressed. Now, this sounds really impressive. I wrote it, but I have no idea what it means. I sent this to an email to Linda, when she said, what do you think about the topic? And I just wrote this off the top of my head, sent it out, and I said, and had no idea that this would be the official introduction to the presentation. But I don't know what it means. So our job tonight is to understand what this means, and if we all do this together, we have a fighting chance. That's our goal. So in order to understand this whole resentment and depression topic, we need to start off with a good base. So the first place that we need to look is anger. Then we're going to look at resentment. Then we're going to make some connections between the two, and then ultimately look at how to reduce both the anger and the resentment. Now, anger is a really good feeling. Well, it's not a great feeling, but it's a normal, healthy feeling. It's typical. We can describe it. We can use a 0 to 100 scale. It gives us some pretty good words. It gives us annoyed, frustrated, bothered, pissed off, postal, as we go up the scale. It's, however, one of the most confusing and hardest to manage feelings that exist. Some people are great at having anger. They're angry about everything. Others are never angry. They're so laid back, they make the Dalai Lama look stressed. Now, clearly, both of these extremes are bad. The people that are always angry lack the ability to have other feelings and or so Dow Jonesy, up and down, that they are unpredictable with their anger. You don't know when they're going to go off. They could go like that. The other extreme is when the person is unable to express anger. They don't wish to feel anger, perhaps for a boatload of reasons. None of them are good. But probably, my guess, usually related to some bad history with anger and others being angry at them. So far, so good? Good? Good. All right. Now, when people have the 0 to 100 type of anger, we want to identify it, feel it, use it productively, and be done with it. Let me give an example. I was at the checkout line at ShopRite, and I was annoyed at having to wait. People don't know this. I have a line allergy. It's bad. There are no shots for this, but it's a bad allergy to have. So I was online at ShopRite, waiting in line, and I felt my annoyance and frustration going on. I breathed through it. I accepted what I couldn't change, and I was done with it. I then moved on to the next thing in my day. Pretty simple, right? However, when people don't express the anger, it builds, 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 and becomes a resentment. Let me give the same example. I'm standing on the checkout line. I'm always at the checkout line. I'm pissed off. I'm screaming. I'm yelling, telling the manager, get your, over here because, you got people here. I got a lot of things to do. I'm a busy guy. And what is the problem here? And I'm saying, hey, fix this. Worse, I'm saying nothing. And I'm obsessing in my own head about how incompetent the store is and how they need to have better management. And I'm doing this all in here. 2 ways. All right, let's define resentment. Dictionary.com says resentment is the feeling of displeasure or indignation at some act, remarked, person, etc., regarded as causing an injury or an insult. Feeling displeasure or indignation at some act, remark, person, regarded as causing an injury or insult. Okay, got it. Wikipedia gives us just a little more. Resentment is the experience of a negative emotion, anger or hatred, felt as a result of a real or imagined wrong done. In case you wanted to know, impress all your friends, resentment comes from the French word ressentir. So you have which means to feel. Sentir means to feel. Re is the prefix, feel again. So in French, it means to feel again. It also comes from the Latin, which means sentir, again, to feel again. So you can impress your friends, you now know where resentment comes from. That and $2 will get you on the subway. Anyway, what's interesting about these definitions is that resentment is about a person's perception of being done wrong. In fact, it doesn't even matter if it's true. I don't believe that ShopRite is purposely staying up nights to make me stand online. But even if I did, it's my resentment. It's my perception. Real or imagined, doesn't matter. Resentment is self-induced. If I have resentment, all that needs to happen is a couple of things. One, the person that I feel resentment towards does something to me. Or they could just say hi. Or, better yet, all I have to do to activate it is think about it. I can't believe it. It's all me. Now, once my resentment is activated, I can feel it again, and again, and again, and again. It's my own created venom. And the venom will continue to invade me as long as I think about it over and over and over and over. The best part about the resentments is they're usually justified and somewhat reasonable. So let's say you have a spouse who works too much or doesn't do a small task that you've asked them to do over and over again, or the treatment professional who doesn't return your phone call, etc., etc. Now, these all sound pretty reasonable. They sound pretty logical. And a person might have some feelings about all of this, and they might have it once. When I have resentment, I justify my resentment with this rationalization that everybody would feel this way. So not only is this valid, I've now rationalized it to make it even better. And the stories about resentment, they sound like it happened yesterday. But they're as real could be because they sit right here. And what happens when they sit right here is they tend to affect a person's functioning every single day because that resentment tape is always playing right here over and over again. And if I get a chance to think about it, it activates itself, and it's like this. And as you said before, there's a sense of I can't do anything about it. But you can. And that's what we're going to talk about next. How do you decrease resentments? Resentments we have to get rid of because ultimately what they do is they create all this space in our internal hard drives, and eventually you run out of space. So you can't put anything good in there because you got all this crap in there. So they have to go. The question is, how? Well, let me toss out a few ideas I have. How do you do this? One way you do this is through hard exercise. I don't mean walking. I mean kickboxing, mixed martial arts, boxing, strenuous weightlifting, running, things like home construction. More specifically, demolition than construction. The seasonally appropriate and useful leaf raking, and for those of us who remember Saturday, snow shoveling. The very therapeutic, I got all this stuff that I don't want to have, and it needs to go. And I can take my resentment and I can put it into something physical, and I can start cleaning my driveway. And since I might have a lot of resentment, I could clean other people's driveways as well. I could be the most popular person in the whole neighborhood by cleaning everybody's driveway, depending on how much resentment I have. And by the time I'm done, I'm going to be really tired and probably less resentful. Probably. You can also reduce resentment by prayer, meditation, visualizations, letting go, talking to others, and thinking it through in the sense of, is it really worth it to carry this? Is this really doing me any good? Now, let me make a little aside here. Most times when people have a resentment, there's a little payoff here about it. Because my question is it really worth it? Well, you see, part of it is its protection. And if I choose to let this go, there's going to be some consequence to that for me. There's a payoff. So I have to decide what's going to be better, the getting rid of the crap or the payoff. There are 4 columns. It's pretty simple. Column 1, resentment. Column 2, what am I resentful about? Column 3, what's the meaning of the resentment? And column 4, what's the real feeling? Okay, so let me explain. Column 1, what's the resentment? That's pretty easy. Pissed off about whatever, right? What am I resentful about? So, first column is my resentment. So we can do it. So we can list them all. Resentful about that. Second column, what is this resentment about? I'll give you an example in a second. So what's it about? I mean, why is this so upsetting to me? Third column, what's the meaning of this resentment? I mean, what's this how does this relate in a bigger picture? And the fourth column, what's the real feelings here? I've used the word real feeling in that fourth column. Am I intimating that resentments may not be resentments? Yeah, I am. I'm more than intimating. I'm thinking it's true. Resentments are like my favorite childhood dessert, the chocolate brown bonnet. Someone who knows what it is. Thank you, God. Chocolate brown bonnet for the uninformed from Carvel. Nice cone, soft chocolate ice cream, hard, frozen, dipped ice cream around it. Perfect on a summer's day. Perfect on a 20-degree night. Perfect on a summer's day. And then you have to eat the hard chocolate, which protects the very soft chocolate. And it doesn't melt, except if it's 100 degrees outside and then it drips all over you. But for the most part, it doesn't melt and you're good to go. I think that anger and resentment is really the chocolate brown bonnet. It protects the real feelings, the sad, the hurt, the disappointed. Because those are the real feelings, I think. Most of the time we walk around being pissed off and being resentful, but the bottom line, okay, wait a second, I have to put a caveat here. For the men in the room here, I'm going to break the guy code, okay? Okay, so I have to put my cautionary label. I'm breaking the guy code. Because men are angry, by the way, I don't know if you know this. Women have other feelings. Men are always angry. That's their usual universal feeling. So if we're going to break the guy code here, I have to mention that if we break it, we're going to say that a person might be hurt or sad or disappointed. Okay, we can go back to a regular scheduled program and talk to the rest of the group. Okay, so we've broken the guy code. Hurt, sad, and disappointed, I think, are the real feelings, with the anger and resentment protecting that, the vulnerability, the really tender, the really painful thing. which only around trusted people am I going to share. Because in public, I'm going to be pissed off. I'm going to be resentful. You know, I'm really pissed off about this. I'm really resentful about this. This person who screwed me over from the job, blah, I'll be really pissed off about that. But the bottom line, it really hurt. The bottom line is I'm pretty let down. I'm pretty disappointed. I'm pretty sad. And I'm pretty sad because it shouldn't have happened. I'm pretty sad because that's not the way it's supposed to be. People are not supposed to die. That's not the way it goes. It's part of my sadness. I got dealt a bad hand. It's hurt, it's betrayal, it's sadness. It's not anger, it's not resentment. The other way to decrease anger and resentment is to work on being happy. Now, I know this sounds rather simple and rather elementary, but for people with mood disorders, perhaps impossible, but the handout, the flip side of the handout, gives you 11 happiness boosters. Now, Sonia, whose name I'm not going to pronounce because I don't think I can, if there's anybody who'd like to take a stab at it, I'm up for it. Because it's Lubirishki, so I'm Sonia, because we're pals. Yeah, that one, thank you. Good, thank you. Is the author of the book, The How of Happiness. And here's some background about her and the book. Drawing on her own groundbreaking research with thousands of men and women, research psychologist and University of California professor of psychology, Sonia L., has pioneered a detailed yet easy-to-follow plan to increase happiness in our day-to-day lives. In the short term and over the long term, The How of Happiness is a different kind of happiness book, one that offers a comprehensive guide to understanding what happiness is and isn't, and what can be done to bring us all closer to the happy life we envision for ourselves. Using more than a dozen uniquely formulated happiness-increasing strategies, The How of Happiness offers a new and potentially life-changing way to understand our innate potential for joy and happiness, as well as the ability to sustain it in our lives. So what I found was 11 of these happiness boosters that you have in front of you. So, first one, count your blessings. Keep a gratitude journal. One of the most important things is to think about gratitude. It's huge. It's the other side. If I'm angry, hurt, sad, pissed off, whatever, I want to look at what's good here, not what's bad. I can tell you what's bad. I want to turn it around and pay attention to what's good. Let's look at the gratitude. What am I grateful for? Gratitude might be, I'm alive today. Gratitude might be, I'm breathing. Gratitude might be, I have electricity. Right? Because in our daily lives, most people focus in on what's wrong. If you listen to anybody's random conversation, dinner conversation, how was your day? Oh, well, it wasn't really good. This happened, that happened. We always talk about what's wrong. Rarely do we talk about something that's right. Rarely do we pay attention to something that I'm really happy about that happened today. Rarely. It happens, but rarely. So if we come focused to look at what's good, what I'm grateful for, it starts to change it around a little bit. I see the glasses being a little more half full as opposed to being a little less half empty. Second one, practice acts of kindness. Somewhat self-explanatory, kind of basic, and they don't have to be big. They could be as simple as the handout suggests, letting someone go ahead of you on the checkout line. Not on my checkout line all the time. That ain't happening. Screw that. I'm waiting on the line. You ain't coming ahead of me. It doesn't matter. Right? It could be simple. It could be holding a door open for someone. Simple. Nurture optimism. Back to what you said before. Let's look at the silver lining. Let's look at what's better. Let's look at, if you will, if we're always looking at the dark side, let's look at the bright side. And I don't mean, well, look at the bright side. I don't mean that. I mean, let's look at something, back to the gratitude, let's look at something that's positive. Like today, for example. Most people didn't notice this. It was pretty blue sky today. For January, it was pretty blue. Now, it wasn't exactly a beautiful day. It wasn't exactly beach weather. It wasn't exactly a day to walk in the park, but a blue sky in January, we'll take it. It may be the only one we get the rest of the week. Right? Small. We start to look at what's positive, what's optimistic, what's better. Number 4, learn to forgive. Now, forgiveness is an entirely other part that we could talk about, and we could talk about it for days. But 1040 EZ version, almost tax time, right? It's about letting go. If we're talking about resentment, forgiveness is the other side. It's acknowledging the wrong and forgiving the person. So it's about forgive, don't forget, but forgiving the person, forgiving the act. The other way to get rid of resentment. Her words, increasing flow experiences. You can read that, and I'll do the short form of that. Translation. When you're involved in something that matters, you're in flow. When you're doing something that's important, time flies. Hopefully, it's happening tonight, but I'm sketchy about that. It may not be. When you're involved in something, and you can kind of be in the flow, and you're doing something good and something healthy and something matters, you're in the flow. It's good. You can read through that. Number 6, invest in relationships. Yes. We are social creatures. We need others. Funny, mood disorder is a disease of isolation. That's an oxymoron. So the solution then is to invest in other people. We need other people. They need us. It ties everything together because, again, if we take gratitude and we take optimism, we take being with other people, and we have relationships and we nurture the relationships and we forgive, we're going to be happier. Number 7, this is the right group for this. Avoid overthinking. This is what we do. We think. We're good at it. We can obsess. One of the ways that you can also do that is what I call a positive obsession. 2 words that don't go together in the same sentence, I know. Right? You can think about something that's healthier, that's happier. You can start thinking about your summer vacation plans. You can start going on the computer and saying, where do I want to go this summer for vacation? And start to think about, okay, where might that be? It might be a nice place. Okay, it's going to be warmer. Okay, let's think about this. Let's think about that. If you want to take it to the next level, you could start looking at air flights. You could start looking at hotels. You could start thinking about this and that. It's a little bit healthier, a little bit happier than obsessing about the usual crap that we obsess about. Next one. Savor life's joys. Back to gratitude, back to being positive, right? Again, like I said before, if we got resentment on the emotional hard drive, there's not a lot of room for good stuff. If we want to put good experiences in and note those experiences, acknowledge those experiences, and say, hey, this was really good. This was really fun. You know, the handout talks about mental photographs. It's funny to me that the anecdotes that you have with people when they're positive don't have to be big things. They can be small things. But if you notice them and acknowledge them and say, hey, that was pretty cool, and make a note in here, you get to savor that and have that. Take care of your soul. I guess we could have take care of your body and take care of your brain, but take care of your soul. Getting involved in doing something that matters, getting involved in something that's spiritual, getting involved in something. Commit to your goals, number 10. You know, this is the new year, and we have all those New Year's resoluters out there who are about to bomb on their New Year's resolutions. All those people at the gym who are about to leave, because it's going to be February and they'll all be gone. However, each and every day, you can identify something that you can have as a goal. I want to do this. By the end of February, I want to accomplish that. Within 6 months, I want to do that. And I can lay that out in a big picture, and I can lay it out in smaller steps. Identify something that you want to do to be better. Maybe it's one of these things. Identify the goal, break it down, break it down, break it down. By next week, I want to call an old friend that I haven't spoken to in years. Okay. It's a phone call. 10 digits, like my chances. I don't have to go out with them. I don't have to have a lifelong, meaningful conversation, bearing my soul, cleansing any resentments that I've had with this person, cleaning up any hurt or pain. I don't have to do that. I just have to make a phone call. And last on her list, use your body. Physical change is a key element towards other change. Sleep, exercise, stretch, meditate, all that stuff, laughing. It makes it all better. So we're talking about body, mind, soul, change, involved with other people, looking at gratitude, looking at bigger picture things. Be happier. Part of that comes from getting rid of the crap that we carry around in here and the pain and getting rid of it. Because if we clean it up, we use one of those hard drive tools that they have on computers where you get rid of the things that don't work, those temporary files. We clean them all up in there. We don't need them. We have more space. We do more things to make it better, to make us happier, to do some physical, mental, emotional, spiritual things. We end up being happy. So what we need to do, decrease the anger, decrease the resentment, work on healing those hurts, those pains. Connect with other people. Do positive things. Do happier things. Because we can have the power to choose to make ourselves happier, or we have the power to choose to make ourselves miserable. And as far as I know, we have one life. So we get to choose which version we want. Now, I grant that if you have a mood disorder, some of this is harder to do than it would be if you didn't. Fact. However, we don't have to look at huge change to be happier. We can have yay much change to be happier. Because this much change will lead to this much change, which will lead to this much change. That's doable.